Hi, this is Kristen Logan from the South Carolina Department of Education's Office of Personalized Learning. Welcome to a quick tour of how the South Carolina Teaching Standards 4.0 element expectations connects to the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. The purpose of this video is to provide a short introduction of how the Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes can help measure growth in the element of expectations. If you haven't watched the welcome video in the header of the crosswalk document that explains our overall purpose, we suggest watching that before you continue with this video. The Measuring PCBL Toolkit focuses on 8 outcomes that we believe are distinctive of a high-quality PCBL system. Self-efficacy is the PCBL outcome we will focus on today. The toolkit was created to help make measuring PCBL impacts as accessible as possible for classroom teachers, school coaches, and leaders, and anyone wanting to document the effects of PCBL practices for learners. Let's dig in and learn more about the connections between the 4.0 element expectations and the Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes. If you were wanting to measure your impact in the 4.0 element expectations, you could use one of the following Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes: self-efficacy, support, engagement, agency, or mastery orientation. We know that teacher expectations are a critical component of a classroom culture where students can develop self-efficacy. When teachers believe in their students and the students know that their teacher believes in them, it is much more likely that student self-efficacy will be high, which supports students in their learning. Now let's look to see how you could use self-efficacy to measure impact in the SCTS 4.0 element of expectations. Let's level set for a minute. When we say self-efficacy, what do we mean and why is it important? According to Albert Bandura, self-efficacy is the belief in our own ability to succeed, and it plays a significant role in how we think, act, and feel about our place in the world. A strong sense of self-efficacy correlates to successful goal achievement and resiliency amidst challenges. One thing that has always been true, but especially now that we are coming out of our COVID years, is that students are trying to find their place in this world, and it can be helpful when they are knowledgeable about themselves as learners and have a belief in their abilities. When students learn in an environment where the teacher has high expectations and is compassionate, students are more likely to have a high degree of self-efficacy. The indicators for the SCTS 4.0 rubric element expectations and the PCBL outcome self-efficacy can work together to help teachers collect valuable data about their students' belief in themselves as learners. For example, on the 4.0 rubric, teachers are expected to engage students in learning with clear and rigorous academic expectations for every student and actively use aligned and differentiated materials and resources to ensure equitable access to learning. Teachers are also expected to create learning opportunities where all students consistently experience success. The self-efficacy data collection tool has survey questions that ask learners how they feel when things get hard or if they make mistakes. Using the survey questions to find out how students are feeling about themselves as learners can uncover some of their perceptions around teacher expectations. This data, then, in turn, can be used by teachers to inform and grow their instructional practices as they work to create high expectations for all learners. Let's click into the crosswalk to see how we might use the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. Let's imagine that I am a high school teacher who has multiple classes, which means lots of students with varying abilities and varying mindsets. This year, I have chosen to set a goal to work on the SCTS 4.0 rubric element of expectations because I want to know if my students feel like I believe that they can all succeed and that in our classroom, it is about the learning. I see that I have 5 different outcomes that I can use to measure impact. I know there's a strong connection between expectations and self-efficacy, so I'm going to click on self-efficacy. I see there are several prompts and questions I can use to create a survey for my students. I notice that each prompt has a code for which level it best fits. Since I'm a high school teacher, I want to make sure the prompts I select fit where my students are as learners. I might pick 4 prompts that I can use with a Likert scale, like I can persevere and keep going even when something is difficult. When I don't get something right, I can relearn and practice until I accomplish it. Or when faced with a really difficult task, I don't try very hard because it's not worth it. And it's okay if I learn slower or faster than others. We all learn at our own pace and in our own ways. Then I might also pick two open-ended questions like, how do you feel about making mistakes and making them? How do you feel about learning totally new things? Once I have made the survey, I would give it to one or all of my classes depending on what I was trying to measure. After getting the survey results back, I could analyze the data by myself, with my coach, with another colleague, to see what I notice and wonder about what my students are saying about their self-efficacy. If I needed to follow up and do some small group interviews, I could. Then I could use the data to make some changes in my instruction based on what my students said. If my SLO was focused on that same 4.0 element, I could even use these prompts as pre and post data related to one of the competencies I might be working to integrate into my classroom. If you're wondering if you can do this with more than one outcome at a time, the answer is you can. You can use each of these tabs at the bottom here as a menu to pull from if it relates to the SCTS 4.0 element you're trying to measure. Now, what if I'm a school leader or an instructional coach? How can I use the same crosswalk? Well, if your school has identified a few of the SCTS 4.0 elements that are your focus for the year, then you could ask everyone to focus on the same one or give them a choice between a few. Then, as a coach or school leader, you could create a school-wide survey using the prompts and questions from the data collection tool that apply to the SCTS 4.0 elements that are your focus. Have each teacher give the survey to one class during a given class period, and then reflect on the whole school data or individual class data when you're all in meeting in your PLCs. Teachers could set their own growth goals around the data from their students. That is one way you can leverage the connection between the SCTS 4.0 rubric element expectations and the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. Now it's your turn to think about which Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcome you want to focus on and explore the survey prompts and questions. We love to partner with educators. Please remember you can always reach out to your regional coach by going to personalizesc.ed.sc.gov/contact-us.